Warriors. So glad you joined us today. We are going to talk about Melissa's most recent book, which I absolutely loved, Doe or Die, which she's holding up right there. I read it on my Nook. So I read it on my phone. So I like curling up in bed with my little phone at night when my husband's trying to sleep into that light on.
Actually, not on a Nook, on your phone.
I have a Nook app on my phone. That's how I read. Yeah, a lot of people have told me, like, wow, how do you read on your phone? Because it's such a small screen, but I have the words really, really big. So there's like 5 words on the screen constantly.
You should just invest in the like $59 to buy the Nook.
Yeah. I bought one for my mom years ago, and then I got a Kindle. I think I'm going to say Curtis got it for me for Mother's Day and my birthday or something. But I found that I'm one of those people that the fewer things I have, the more likely I am to use them. Like having to remember a bunch of different chords and a bunch of different devices. So even if, it probably really is better to read on a full-size device. Just having all that stuff around, I don't know. And I'm not a person who clutter really bothers, so I don't know what it is about that, but it's just, my phone's always with me. So when I have that extra 5 minutes, I'm sitting waiting for something, I like to just read on the phone. So anybody else out there like that? Let us know.
I don't have a Kindle. I have a Nook, so I guess I read on the Kindle app once in a while when there's something I want to read, like from Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, because there's some things that are only on Amazon. But I really love this book, so I've got some questions for you. But can I ask you one that I actually didn't put on the pre-approved list?
Oh, yeah. I have my wine today.
I have just cranberry juice and water mixed together. Trying to drink more, get more hydrated, but it's boring just to drink water, so I have some cranberry juice. But one thing I noticed about this that I wanted to kind of point out is that when I plot my mysteries and when I write them, I always have like, I plant kind of who the potential bad guys could be kind of in advance of the person getting killed. There's so many different ways mysteries can be done. And so that way, when the person dies, immediately there's like, 4 or 5 suspects that come to mind. But I noticed in this one, it was, he died, or Ben gets hit by the car, and then we have another death. I don't want to do too many spoilers, so I'm kind of trying to be careful not to say too much about what happens. But that's the inciting incident is Ben getting hit by a car.
Right.
And it was kind of after that they emerged. So I'm just kind of curious about does that, do you prefer that to the other way, or that's just how this story came about?
Or how this story came about. I think every book is a little bit different, and I generally, I have in my head and on my notes, who did what to whom, and who else might have done what to the same person, and it has, as it usually works, I follow that plot line that I've created. But once in a while, it's like not gelling in my head, or it's just not working the way I planned on it to work. And so there's been one time where I've gotten to the very end and I'm like, that person did not commit this crime. And so I've completely changed, who the killer was. And with this situation, Ben was supposed to die, but then I just, this whole like other element came up as I was writing. So I kind of developed that, and it changed the trajectory of the plot. So
well, it was well done. I felt like it was, all these analogies were coming to me. I think I was craving bread while I was reading this, because I started thinking, like all the ingredients, it's kind of like it's all needed together, and it forms this complete story, but if you were missing any ingredient, the flavor wouldn't fully be there. But I just felt like you did such a good job with that, with doing everything, all the little moving parts, coming together in there.
I feel this way, but I often feel like it's a mess, and is it ever going to come together, and is it going to make sense when it's done, and then it does, but during that writing process, I'm often like, this is the worst thing I've ever written, and it makes no sense. Do you feel that way?
Oh yeah. It's always like, what am I doing? And then, then it'll pull together. But, so we've got some people commenting. Hi guys, glad you're here. So I am curious, are there any similarities between making bread and plotting a mystery?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that there are, because you have all of these ingredients. So you've got the villain, you've got potential suspect, you've got your victim, and so they are the ingredients of the recipe that come together, to ultimately create this story that hopefully, tastes as good as the bread, right? So yeah, I hadn't really thought about it until you said it that way, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a parallel. And I would say, just like in my dressmaking books, there's the parallel of coming up with a design idea for her, that Harlow is the dressmaker. So she comes up with a design idea, she creates a pattern, she, it's inspired by whoever the client is, whoever she's making this for, and then ultimately she has this outfit. So I mean, it's kind of the same way. And I mean, I think for you probably too, like for example, with the Moonshine home series coming up, right? It's going to have that similar.
The little clues drip and get distilled. Well, and I was thinking that in your book too, because you talk about, the first rising, or is that am I using the correct terminology? So some of this bread has to rise more than once. So yeah, I was kind of thinking that as like, that's like the suspense building, as the bread is rising. Punch it down and come back. Okay, so I liked that there was the TV show tie-in. Those cooking shows are a lot of fun. So I'm wondering, are you a fan of cooking shows? And if so, which ones do you like? And I'd like that to know that from the Book Warriors too. Which ones do you like? Which cooking shows?
Yeah, I get stuck in my rut. I like the British baking show, and the Great British Bake Off, and Great British Baking Show. And then I also really like the holiday themed shows where they have to make everybody, it's a competition and there's 10 people and it gets down to one, and every week they're making like a haunted house, or they're making a grave site, or they have some challenge that they have to make. And it's always so incredibly phenomenal what they come up with, and I'm always so impressed. I love to have that stuff on just when I'm rarely just watching TV, which bugs my son. I usually have the computer, I'm doing something else. And so those are the kinds of things that I often will have on if I'm not in my office working. This is my office. If I'm on the couch doing something else, then I'll have that sort of show on the background. We used to watch Iron Chef a lot, which I go through phases of things I eat, things I watch, things I listen to. I'm sort of routine oriented that way. I'll go to the same restaurant and order the exact same thing because that's what I like.
Well, sometimes it's that reassurance of knowing I like this. I'm not going to be disappointed. It's gonna, it's gonna make me happy. And you're talking about the holiday things. I remember this wasn't on TV. We were somewhere. Now I can't remember where it was. It might have been around Thanksgiving. There was a Thanksgiving about 3 or 4 years ago when we went to New York and we saw the Macy's parade. Oh, wow. And I think it was there that we were somewhere where they were having a gingerbread contest. And there was all this really cool gingerbread. I have the pictures on my phone, so I can probably go back and figure out, where that was. But yeah, it was just really fun because, the holidays, so much of that is about food and traditions. And and the food is what brings everybody together. And that's just kind of fun. So we've got Gwen is here saying she's the same way. Patricia saying hello. So thanks for being here, guys. Melissa Jones says she loved Iron Chef. She also liked the Bobby Flay challenge shows.
Oh, we're missing 1 or 2 with Bobby Flay, but I do like him. I think he's really down to earth. I think he's a Texan, maybe, isn't he?
Oh, is he? I don't know. I know that name.
Southern, because he does all the barbecue stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a great cook, so but I do like baking. Baking to me, because it's dessert, and that usually means like fun time and like the cake decorating. I like doing that. So another thing I liked about your book was that there was a theme of female empowerment and how all these women, came together and they're helping each other. And especially, they were all from different cultures, and the bread kind of reflected that. So I really liked that, women building each other up and coming together. So East of Eden it's much more than just a bread shop. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you came up with sort of that idea for that?
Yeah, I hear quite a bit that these books are a little bit more than your traditional cozy. And I guess, I don't read a ton of cozies, I think because I write them and I don't want to be influenced by them maybe. And so I don't really follow maybe the the sort of formula, the genre that I think often happens. So I think that I'm always looking for something to bring in that maybe takes it that step beyond. In this case, I just happened to read an interview or an article rather about this bakery owner in New York who ran this program. I can't remember what it was called, but it's similar to Bread for Life, which is what's in here. And its whole purpose was to empower women and help them develop a skill and bring them together and celebrate who they were in their culture and the baking, and then give them a marketable skill to go out and do something. So I just loved that idea. And so that's sort of where it began for the Bread for Life program. And then Alaya, who's the owner of Use of Eden, to me, she's just kind of that old soul who wants to do good in the world and empower in the way that she's empowered. You know, I think that's just the way I write, but I try to go against stereotypes too. So, you know, she's a Mexican bread maker. Bread is not what Mexico is known for, but they do have this culture and history of very traditional long rise bread. So that's what she does. And then she's this business owner, and she wants to kind of, that pay it forward kind of sensibility is something that she has. And then, so then I just tried to bring in different cultures of women and thought about who I knew. And so I just have this history with this one woman and her daughter from so long ago, who was from Eritrea. And my parents still keep in touch with her. And so that's how that connection came out with the Hembesha. And I don't know. And then I just love celebrating women and female relationships and the strength that we all have, you know, that it doesn't always get celebrated or recognized. So that's just, I guess that's just who I am, and it comes out in all of my books.
Yeah, I see so much of you in here, and it's like, is this because I just know her so well, so I know that these things are coming out? But it was funny, reading about Eritrea, because I had never even heard of that country until years ago when we lived in San Jose. I did some part-time work for an attorney who did immigration law, and she was from Ethiopia, and she was talking about the whole Eritrean war with Ethiopia, and oh my gosh, that job was very eye-opening, and yeah. But we went out for Ethiopian food one time, and it was really good. It had, you know, the bread that you like dip everything with, and everything's so fancy. I love that. And it's interesting how bread is just, how it is such a cultural thing. And you know, you're talking about Mexico not being known so much for bread. Of course, you know, the tortillas, I guess, are, you know, but I love those Mexican pastries for breakfast.
The
Yes, I was trying to think what they were called. Have you been to that panaderia, or however you say it, that's in off 70 in our town?
No, I've been to La Superior in Durham. I can't remember what's one. But no, I haven't.
Yeah, I've driven by it a few times. I keep thinking I need to stop there, but I think it's one of those ones that's only open like in the morning, and I'm never up and moving in the morning that early, so I need to do it. Okay, so the Crosby House for Abused Women and Children also added a layer of depth to this story. So how do you balance the weighty issues with the light mystery? Is that hard for you? Does it seem sort of like a natural juxtaposition, or?
Well, okay, I want to say for anybody listening, because I think the one criticism I've read in reviews about this is that Ivy kind of breaks some boundaries that shouldn't have been broken, which honestly never really occurred to me. And so I you know, for anybody who thought that was too much, I apologize for that part, because I really didn't think of that. You know, when she was kind of snooping around Crosby House and went into the different rooms. So, you know, I have a good friend in Texas who's very connected with the community and with the preschool, especially there. That's a community-run preschool, and with the Women's Center, which is pretty similar. So that's kind of how I first got connected with the Women's Center in Texas. And then when I was teaching middle school, we did a book drive, and that year, several of my students and I actually went and delivered these books to the preschool, and that was connected with the women's shelter. We couldn't actually go to the women's shelter, so we went to the preschool. But you know, it's just one of those things, again, that's there. It exists, and we just often don't talk about it or recognize it. And it just came to me when I was thinking about who these women in the Bread for Life program cause them to, to be part of this program and to need that bolstering up and that experience of connections with other women. And so it just kind of came to me that probably one of them, would be in a shelter, or that could be her story. And so that's sort of how that evolved.
Yeah. And it's a shame that there's a need for that, but it's a good thing that they're there and that there are programs like this that will help people and stuff.
Yeah. In our town in Texas, there were a couple of programs like that. I mean, there's a big need. Yeah. I'm glad they're out there.
Yeah. I liked that she was doing the Keyhole Gardens at the shelter, and I know you've got a Keyhole Garden, so I'm kind of wondering, like, which came first? Were you researching gardening for your house and then decided to put that in, or did that kind of happen organically, that you thought this would be a great thing to put in the book, and then you went and did one at your house? Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Keyhole Gardens. I have a good friend named Leanne. Hi, Leanne, if you're out there. In Texas, and so I learned about Keyhole Gardens from her. And this book is actually dedicated to her because of the Keyhole Gardens. And because of other things, but I learned about the Keyhole Gardens from her because she had created one at her property in Texas. And so then our family created several. We got these boxes from the Habitat for Humanity store, the resource store, and used those to create these Keyhole Gardens. And if you haven't read it, a Keyhole Garden is it's just a garden that has a cylindrical tube of some sort. We always use chicken wire, and you compost right into that cylinder and water ideally into that, and it just continually amends your soil and makes it great for growing, and then it requires less water. So it was created by this woman who's from Texas, actually, for communities like Texas that's so dry, and then in Africa, because you could support so many people with one Keyhole Garden, and it requires a lot less water. So that's how I knew about it from my friend Leanne, and I researched it before we created it. And that was the natural thing to do, is continue to do a Keyhole Garden so we can compost into it. And then when I was thinking about what could Ivy contribute to this women's shelter, not just to go in and nose around, but what could she actually contribute? That was just what came to me, because I just think they're so cool.
Yeah, and I remember seeing yours at your house and thinking that was neat too. And it's such a green concept, as opposed to using fertilizer and stuff like that. You're, using, and obviously I need to do that because my garden here did horribly. So I need to, next year I'm going to try to, and I know you got a ton of cucumbers and made pickles and stuff.
And I just picked a couple of eggplants. They have these white eggplants and peppers. And yeah, we've had a really good haul this year, and it's still coming.
Does it attract any, I guess you have wire around the outside probably to keep out mice or
netting. We want to do an enclosure like a lot of people do around here eventually, but right now we just have netting around it that has kept, we haven't had any deer or anything like that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't been through North Carolina, one thing you'll see here if you ever drive, and that may seem a little odd, is people will have gardens in front of their house instead of in back. And sometimes it's just, you have to put it wherever your sunny spot is. And because the trees are so tall, sometimes you don't have a sunny spot. Like where I had mine out back, really only got maybe about 5 good sun hours a day. And I think that was part of the reason why it took forever for my plants to get tomatoes, and then forever for them to ripen. It just wasn't getting quite enough sun. So we kind of joked about putting stuff on wagons so that we could pull it around as the sun moved.
Oh, yeah, that's so funny, because a friend of mine they have a chicken coop. They created a chicken coop on an old, kind of like a 2-wheeled cart. I don't know what it's called, but so they wheel that chicken coop around, and they created a portable enclosure for us so they can lift it up and move it with the chicken coop.
There's a joke there. Chicks on the move. I know. The coop on the move. So what is your favorite bread to make, and do you usually hear of a bread and then go look for a recipe, or do you taste a bread somewhere and then say, this is great, I want to put it in my book? Or does it vary?
So we are gluten-free in our household, so because we do celiac disease and work for us better and better for my daughter and I. So I don't actually make a lot of the traditional breads that are in the book. So a lot of it is from what I used to make and love to bake. I make gluten-free versions of everything, but I don't usually put the gluten-free version in. So usually it depends. Well, I guess it depends on the time of year that the book is taking place. So, for example, I'm writing a holiday themed book right now, and Zula, who's in this, comes back in that book, which is fun. And so the breads that I've chosen, work for that time of year. And then on Instagram, and actually you pointed this one out to me on Instagram, there's the Vando Bread.
Oh, yeah.
Which is in the next book, which comes out in May. And it's even on the front cover. And I've become chatty with the Vineyard Baker, who is the creator. The initial idea of this whole Vando bread was hers. And so we're going to chat with her in May. So in that case, I saw the bread, thought it was so interesting and cool, and so incorporated that into the book. So it just kind of depends on if something in particular is inspiring. In terms of my favorite that I've put in the books, is not in this book. I can't remember actually which book it's in, but the babka, the chocolate babka, which is a Russian bread. So good. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you had referenced the sweet brown bread, and it made me think of the Cheesecake Factory. I love their little, and I don't even know what's in that. Does that have chocolate in it, do you think?
No, I think it's got rye, I think, and it probably has a little bit of the cocoa in it.
Yeah, because something makes it sweet, or would it be molasses? I mean, I'm such a bad cook that I don't really.
Yeah, it could be. But all those steakhouses have those brown rolls too. They're so good.
Yeah, I know. All the places we can't go to right now. Oh, my cat's gonna try to. He's trying to come over here. I better grab him before he'll walk across my. Oh, now he's going away. Okay, so he's gonna walk across my computer and disconnect me. So. Yeah, so you mentioned, baking with your daughter and being gluten-free and stuff like that. Do any of your readers send you recipes for bread, or have they commented on making any of your recipes? And
you're a baker, send me recipes. There is one blogger, I can't think of what her name is right now. My memory, with menopause, is gone.
I'm in that club.
It's a club none of us want to be part of, I think. He actually makes recipes from recipes that are in Cozy Mysteries. And so she's made at least 2 of mine. She made the rosemary bread, which, so I saw that blog and it turned out great. She said she loved it. So once in a while I see a post like that, but not from readers, although I think that would be cool and I would love it.
Yeah, I love rosemary is good. Yeah, there was a frozen bread. Can't remember what brand it was, but it was a rosemary frozen focaccia that I bought. It's so much of it. We ate it that I finally got sick of it. But now that I'm thinking about it again, it's I go through these cycles where I kind of overdo it. Kind of like we're talking about. And so now I'm going, ooh, next time I go to the store, and I want to say I got it at Walmart, and it was in some kind of brown package. I have to remember. But it was
Carlos, he says often, why don't we have X, Y, or Z anymore? You haven't made that in a long time. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot, because I go through those phases where I make it all the time and then I forget about it.
Well, and bread is an incredibly time-consuming thing to do, right? I mean, your character had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and I can't imagine. Poor Ivy, I'm like, oh, Ivy's got to get up at 4.
I wouldn't do it. There's a lady that lived across the street and down a couple houses from us when I was growing up, and she owned a bakery in town. And I mean, she got up at 3:30 every morning, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it makes me think of those Dunkin' Donuts commercials where got to make the donuts, getting up. But I guess if you get off early enough, it can go to bed early enough. But
I don't know that early, so that's the problem.
Well, I remember one of my sisters made bread one time, and she made the mistake, the dough smelled really good, so she took a few little bites and wasn't thinking about it expanding and stuff, and it made her really, really sick.
Oh no!
It expanded her stomach, so I think it was very uncomfortable and very.
That's hilarious. That never occurred to me that could even happen.
Yeah, I ever make bread from scratch. I need to remember Remember what happened to Donna, so I don't eat it. My cat is trying to get over here again.
I watched the dog out this time.
Bending off my computer here so he doesn't disconnect us. So your next one, you talked about the Vando Bread. So when does that come out, and what's that going to be called?
It is called Death Gone Awry. Death Gone Awry. And it comes out in late
that's
April.
Not too long.
I know, yeah. And then the next one, which is what I'm writing right now, which is called A Murder Yule Regret, like Yule Tide. I don't know, it comes out in October, I think. So.
Just passing through. So, do you have the problem like I do? If you are trying to bake, you're going to end up with like cat hair or dog hair in your food. For you, it would be dog, I guess.
Dog hair, yeah, every once in a while. Yeah.
There's an extra. It's made with that extra ingredient, not love, but dog hair, cat hair.
Yeah, Caleb is quite disgusted by all of that. My son, my 17, soon to be 18-year-old son. Like,
see, that doesn't bother me at all. But if it were human hair, ew. But cat, dog, that's everywhere.
Animal. Like if you came to my house and found one of my dog hairs, I don't know if you'd be so excited.
One of my funniest memories was when Lindsay was real little. She was maybe like 5 because we still lived in San Jose, and I had made cupcakes and I had put all this frosting on top. I mean, they were like this tall frosting, and she was sitting on the carpet leaning back against the couch. So she was kind of between the couch and the coffee table holding this cupcake, and the German Shepherd we had at the time leaped over her because it couldn't get around the coffee table. When Boomerang jumped over the cupcake, her belly rubbed against. Yeah, she was. Yeah, that dog. She was the sweetest dog, but she jumped over. Then Lindsay looked down, and all the frosting. I mean, it was like there was just fur all in that frosting. And I thought, uh-oh. And she just burst out laughing. That's when I thought, okay, my kid's going to have a good sense of humor, and that's going to serve her well. Because
I think mine would have been like, ew, gross. Put it down.
Yeah. So is there anything else about this book that I didn't ask that you'd like to talk about, or have we covered it?
I don't think so. I don't know about you, but I wrote this quite some time ago, and I've written 2 books since. My brain is somewhere else, but I love this book. I love Ivy. I love Santa Sophia, which is named after my daughter, Sophia, except the town is with an F, and Sophia, my daughter's with PH. But yeah, it's like a little coastal town in Central Coast California. All my towns are places I would love to live.
Oh yeah, I kept thinking of Santa Cruz. It makes me kind of think of Santa Cruz, but maybe without the Santa Cruz, of course, has the boardwalk and stuff. So kind of Santa Cruz without that, to where it's not quite so touristy. But I also have to admit that I'm curious where the Miguel thing is going to go. So I always.
Yeah, I'm working on that one in the book actually. So we'll see where their relationship is in book 5, 6, 7.
So their relationship, like the yeast is rising. We're going to see. Yeah, he's a good love interest. He's a good.
Yeah, I like him too. I mean, I try to make the male characters, those love interests, pretty. Going fishing. Okay. Going fishing. Pretty just supportive, just the kind of partner I would want to have, that I do have. I mean, that was my husband. He's pretty supportive. But just somebody who's not going to try and stop her from doing what she wants to do and needs to do and feels compelled to do, but who is supportive of that. And then also brings something to the table, whether it's, food in the case of Miguel, to, help sustain her. I've never had a law enforcement partner for any of my characters, just kind of going against type, I guess, in Cozy Mysteries, because often they're like the sheriff or the deputy or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So in the dressmaking series, Will is an architect, and then Miguel is a restaurateur, and then in the Book Magic Mysteries, Jamie is a bookstore owner / super crazy Irish medieval history brainiac.
I liked him too. Yeah. So we're going to talk more about him on Wednesday, right?
I know, yeah.
So everybody needs to come back then and 6 o'clock Eastern, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Devil's Cove.
Let's see.
Okay, we have a comment. Years ago, I made a bowl of hot buttered popcorn. I just sat down to watch TV when someone knocked on my door while I was answering my door. The cat dived into the bowl of popcorn. So when I returned, I'd add a cat hair to it. Dog cat was always trying to steal my food. I loved it. Yeah, we have a cat that will eat popcorn and like potato chips, like anything with salt on it, which I don't know if that's good for cats or not. She never eats much, but she will chew on it. But yeah, trying to keep the pets in the house.
You know how I love cereal.
Oh yeah.
That's my popcorn is honeycomb cereal. It's a good little snack and it's super low calorie and you can eat a whole bunch of it. And Bean, my pug, he's crazy for it. Like he hears the rattle of the wax paper bag in the cereal box. He comes running. And if I sit down on the couch, he's just standing there staring at me, waiting until I'll give him the crumbs.
He comes to the honeycomb hideout, huh? Okay, well, so that raises another question. So Bean is a pug, and the dog in this book is a pug. Was this dog based on Bean?
Yes, Agatha is the female fawn version of Bean. Bean is a male, and he's black. Agatha is female, and she's more like Brenda Fawn. So yeah, but totally the inspiration. I love my little dogs. I have little dogs.
Every time we go walking anywhere, her little Chug, her Chihuahua pug mix, everyone has to stop and say how cute it is.
I know.
And my dogs get offended because nobody tells them how cute they are.
I know. Bean doesn't get that either. Bean is not the cutest, but Dobby is adorable.
Yeah, Dobby's adorable and fun. Bean's very sweet. Very
docile. He's our senior, so he can't, he can walk like a mile and that's about it. So we went on a 3-mile hike today, Carlos, Dobby, and me. We left Bean at home with Caleb because he can't do it. So yeah.
You can put him in one of those little baby carriers.
Oh my God. Without, he would not approve, I'm sure.
Actually, I saw these backpacks that you can put a cat in that have like a little plastic dome where they can see out. I was tempted to get one for my daughter because she likes to take her cats places, but they get really nervous. She has a little stroller for them that's, they're totally enclosed, and it's got mesh on it, but they freak out. They'll be like hanging from the top of the mesh and stuff after that. But I thought, well, maybe they'd be a little more chill if they're like up against her and she could, take them in that. But,
I've never even heard of such a thing. When you see dogs that are missing limbs and you have the little apparatus that allows them to, kind of like a little wheelchair, that was just, they just get my heart.
Yeah. It's nice that they have new life and they can go and it doesn't seem to bother them, the things that I've seen. We were actually at a dog park one time. It was when we lived in Thompson Station, Tennessee. And there was this Jack Russell Terrier just tearing around the dog park. And finally it stopped and I looked and I'm like, is that dog missing a leg? But it started tearing around so fast you couldn't even tell. And then finally it stopped again. It only had 3 legs, but it had been born that way. So it didn't know any different. It wasn't like it had been used to 4. And it did not slow that dog down. It was amazing.
That is amazing. They're so precious. I love our animals so much. And I don't know, they don't play a huge part in my book, but they're there and they're like this silent support, this just presence for my characters. So because they're that way for me, I just love my little guys. They just follow me everywhere. They're my shadows.
Well, there's something to come home to, and then while they're cuddling up, they can think about the clues and mystery. So if your husband catches a fish, are you having it for dinner?
No. Catches and releases.
Okay. So no blackened trout or
no, they're little. I don't even know what they are. They're tiny and they don't look appetizing. Well, actually, one time he caught this massive, like 40-pound carp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was like a senior in the lake, too.
I remember the day we were swimming over there was something really big that we kept seeing, and it was much larger than which made me a little bit like, ooh, what's in this lake?
There are some really big ones, but we don't see them very often, and anything that he catches, for the most part, are just the little ones, and now he just puts them back.
Yeah.
We're having potato cheese soup tonight.
Oh, ooh, that sounds good too. You might be knocking on your door in a little bit.
I'll save you some. I actually made French bread, gluten-free French bread, and then we make sausage bread. So make the French bread and then roll it out and then lay out the crumbled cooked sausage and roll it like a jelly roll and then bake it and then you slice it and we eat it with mustard. So I know you're vegetarian, but you could easily do it with the veg.
Yeah, the veggie crumbles.
That's my favorite fall kind of meal.
That almost sounds like that.
And sausage bread, and we know it's fall.
That almost sounds like that could be a breakfast thing too. Could it, or like a kind of like?
I do, yeah. All of leftovers, scrambled eggs, and the bread for breakfast sometimes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I can eat it anytime. I used to bring a couple, I'd have leftovers, and I'd bring a couple slices to my classroom for my lunch the next day. And like I said, I go through these phases, so we'll have sausage bread probably every week for the next 6 weeks because it's fall. Yeah. Until May or something.
That's kind of fun too, though, to have that to look forward to, and for it to keep it special by not having it year round. I mean, I think that
is cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, so I make them Christmas Eve. That's pretty much the only time of the year that we ever make cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for coming by, and plan to come back on Wednesday at 6:00 Eastern time so we can talk about Devil's Cove, which I absolutely loved, and I'm sure you guys did too. It was really very well done.
Of this giveaway, so I will choose a winner tomorrow afternoon. So whether you're watching this live or the replay, leave a comment, and I will be mailing a signed autographed copy of Do or Die to somebody.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.